Let us first define literacy. It is simply the ability to read, write, and understand the text. This is just the same with digital literacy. The only difference is the text is not printed. Text is in digital format. It is not just all about understanding the message of the text, but also understanding the sounds and images. Digital literacy also requires an individual to be able to manipulate the product of technology, both hardware and software. But the question is digital just the same with media literacy? In my own point of view, in some point, yes, because media literacy is the ability to be able to understand the information that is being disseminated, in which it is just the same with digital literacy. Media literacy is also about checking and evaluating the information, in which the same goes to digital literacy. But the difference now is, first, in media literacy, it is just part of the digital literacy because once the information is being shared through the internet, it becomes digital or cyber. Media can also be done through radio, newspapers, and television. Second, the focus of media literacy is on the content of the information to be shared or accepted, whereas in digital literacy, the focus includes now how to use both hardware and software in accessing the content or information. So digital literacy includes the following. First, the tool literacy, the ability to not just recognize, but use both the hardware and software too. So what is hardware? These are the different tangible things you use while accessing and organizing information, like the different parts of the computer such as keyboards, mouse, laptop, Wi-Fi, etc. Software, these are the different applications, the program of the computer. Example, the PowerPoint, Word, computer files, browsers, etc. So the next is the resource literacy. This is the ability to access information, ability how information can be gathered or locate, ability in finding ways how a particular information can be found. Next is the social structural literacy, the ability to understand the significance of information, so making sure of the accuracy of the information to a particular audience, which means audience are being considered in producing a particular content. Next is the research literacy. This is the ability to use information technology in research, like for example, in order to find good journal, an individual must have knowledge where to research this publishable and acceptable international journals. Next is the publishing literacy. This is now the ability in spreading or sharing the information. This is also includes now the interaction or communication in order to convey the message to the target audience. Next is the technologies literacy. This is not just all about the skill of learning the present technology, but also understanding the significance of learning new technologies, which will lead for a better future in the cyber world. Next is the critical literacy. This is not the same with critical thinking, because critical thinking is applying higher order thinking in all aspects of every situation. In critical literacy, the main focus is on evaluating the advantages and disadvantages of a new technology being implemented in a particular organization, focusing on its efficiency and effectiveness, or should just we say, evaluating the success indicator or the feedback is that if the new technology is doing great, then it should continue. If not, then improvement or some updates must be done. It should also come as no surprise that digital literacy shares a great deal of overlap with media literacy, so much that digital literacy can be seen as a subset of media literacy, dealing particularly with media in digital form. So what the statement is trying to convey to us is once the media literacy has been applied to the digital media, then that becomes already a digital literacy. So the term digital literacy is not new. One of the earliest examples of a functional definition of the term described the digitally literate person as being skilled at deciphering and understanding the meanings of images, sounds, and the subtle uses of words so that he or she could match the medium of communication to the kind of information being presented and to whom the intended audience is. So in digital literacy, its main concern also is the audience of that particular message or for that particular information. This also means in digital literacy that this also includes evaluating and assessing the credibility or how reliable is the information. So 2 years later, Paul Gilster formally defined digital literacy as the ability to understand and use information in multiple formats from a wide range of sources when it is presented via computers, explaining that not only must a person acquire the skill of finding things, he or she must also acquire the ability to use these things in life. So meaning this is not just all about understanding the information, the content, assessing or evaluating how reliable the information is, but also once you're able to understand it, then you should also have the skill to apply it in your life. So digital literacy, Bowden collected the skills and competences comprising digital literacy from contemporary scholars on the matter into 4 groups. First is the underpinnings. So in underpinnings, this is the ability now to use the computer in accessing and organizing information. So this is now all about utilizing or manipulating the use of computers. So if you are a digital literate, then what follows now is you should know how to use computers. Number 2, background knowledge. So this is all about how information can be accessed, how to save it, and how to spread it. So unlike before, since it is already printed, it is already there is no need to keep on looking for the information. But we can also relate this to the non-digital. For example, looking for a subject in the library. In a digital world, you are browsing in the internet. What is the most reliable information? So the difference now is in the library, all information are credible and reliable, but in the internet, you should be careful in choosing the information to be saved. So you will be the one now to check if the information is really credible. You will be now the one to decide what information to be stored. Third is the central competencies. So this includes reading and understanding digital and non-digital formats, creating and communicating digital information, evaluation of information, knowledge assembly, how the information is being organized, then information literacy, and media literacy. So attitudes and perspectives, Bowden suggests that it is these attitudes and perspectives that link digital literacy today with traditional literacy, saying it is not enough to have skills and competencies, they must be grounded in some moral framework, specifically independent learning, the initiative and ability to learn whatever is needed for a person's specific situation, and moral or social literacy and understanding of correct, acceptable, and sensible behavior in a digital environment. So this number four competency is very evident nowadays because of this pandemic. Like for example, the teachers are attending different webinars. It is their initiative. The management or the administration did not tell the teachers to attend the different webinars, but instead it is the teachers who have this determination and own will to attend different seminars or webinars just for the teachers to be able to acquire different skills that they will be using in this kind of virtual learning or flexible learning. So if you will observe, the teachers are not just using Messenger, but also the teachers are using different platforms in which they believe that these platforms can help students to learn better than just using what they already know before the pandemic. So in this regard, there you will see that independent learning is very evident, especially to those teachers who are really doing their a lot of effort, doing their best just to deliver or just to present clearly the lessons to the students. So same with the students. The students before doesn't know how to use the different platforms, but now they have this initiative to ask their classmates how the different platforms can be utilized. Okay, so another here is the moral social literacy. So this is now the adjustment, being sensitive with the needs of each one. With of course, not all teachers are not that good in using or in utilizing the different platforms. So there is this understanding in the part of the students to understand what the teachers can just provide to their students and vice versa. Same with the students, the teachers are adjusting to what just the learners or students can can do when it comes to this kind of flexible learning. Like for example, if the students cannot attend class online, at least there are some other ways for the students not to be left behind. So there are some other alternatives. Like what I've said, teachers are doing their part just to cater the needs of the students, but not to the point that the learning will suffer. Okay? So information literacy within digital literacy. So given the ease with which digital media can be edited and manipulated, the ability to approach it with a healthy amount of skepticism has become a survival skill for media consumers. Estet Alkalai draws attention to information literacy as a critical component of digital literacy. Why critical component of digital literacy? Because, of course, information literacy plays a big part in digital literacy because this is where the student learn. This is where a lot of people can access information as the cognitive skills that consumers use to evaluate information in an educated and effective manner. So that's why information literacy is part of digital literacy for everyone, or let's just say for the students to be aware what are to be aware to be reminded what are the things that they should do while accessing information in the world of internet, in the world of computer. So, in effect, information literacy acts as a filter by which consumers evaluate the veracity of information. So, like what I've said, this information literacy really plays a big role in digital literacy because here in information literacy, it acts as a filter to make sure that the information that is being accessed is true and reliable, because without this information literacy, then students will become a victim of cybercrimes. Okay, so being presented to them via digital media, they can sort the erroneous, irrelevant, and biased from what is demonstrably factual. So again, through this information literacy, students are being reminded how to use the different platforms that they need first to check the veracity of the information. So from this perspective, part of the efforts of digital literacy education should be toward developing media consumers who think critically. So again, when we speak of thinking critically, that includes evaluating, assessing, how true is the information, how credible are the sources of information, and are ready to doubt the quality of the information they receive, even if said information comes from the so-called authoritative sources, because sometimes the author, even if it is in a reliable platform or reliable source, sometimes the authors becomes emotional. And if this authors becomes emotional, then they become biased. Okay, so we really cannot avoid that. So that is why students always have to check the veracity of the information. So, however, a majority of studies on information literacy seem to concentrate more on the ability to search for information rather than its cognitive and pedagogical aspects. Okay, so socio-emotional literacy within the literacy. So there is also this socio-emotional, other than the information literacy, which plays a big role in digital literacy, we also have this socio-emotional literacy within digital literacy. Alongside information literacy is that Alkali highlights a kind of socio-emotional literacy needed to navigate the internet, raising questions such as, how do I know if another user in a chat room is who he says he is? Or how do I know if a call for blood donations on the internet is real or a hoax? Such questions should make us realize that there are no hard and fast rules for determining the answers. Instead, there is a necessary familiarity with the unwritten rules of cyberspace. Not an understanding that while the internet is a global village of sorts, it is also a global jungle of human communication, embracing everything from truth to falsehoods, honesty and deceit, on untimely good and evil. According to Estet Alkali, the socio-emotional literacy requires users to be very critical, analytical, and mature, implying a kind of richness of experience that the literate transfers from real life to the dealings online. So this socio-emotional literacy is also important for you to become a fully digitally literate. Because like what was mentioned here is not all are written in the rule of cyberspace. There is, since this is a human communication, there is a part of the of the consumer or of the reader, of the user, to critically analyze if the statement or the information is telling you the truth. You can feel it. There are some hints that will show you if it is really real. Sometimes it is really true. The statement is really true that it is true, that it is too good to be true, then have some doubt. So curiously, while research shows that the older a user is, the less likely they are to behave naively online, this does not exempt them from the occasional lapse. Digital literate users know how to avoid the traps of cyberspace mainly because they are familiar with the social and emotional patterns of working in cyberspace that is really just an outworking of human nature. So like what I've said, if there's something wrong with the communication, you can feel it. There are some hints that will tell you, okay, stop, do not believe, do not be deceived. Again, if it's too good to be true, then have some doubt. Digital natives within digital literacy. So the term digital native has become something of a buzzword in the education sector over the past decade. This was popularized by Prensky in reference to the generation that was born during the information age and who has not known a world without computers, the internet, and connectivity. So despite the fact that Prensky's original paper was not an academic one and had no empirical evidence to support its claims, educators and parents alike latched onto the term, spawning a school of thought wherein the decline of modern education is explained by educators' lack of understanding of how digital natives learn and make decisions. However, a popular misconception born out of the term digital natives and the educational ideas it spawned is that generation in question is born digitally literate, but actually there's no such thing as digitally literate because it takes time to learn on something. It takes experiences for you to be able to become digitally literate. There is a need for you to be exposed and be able to experience things for you to be able to do the different skills and competencies for you to be called a digital literate. So if this is the case, then the question, how can digital immigrants teach digital natives a literacy they already have, is a valid one, to which the answer would be correctly, they cannot. If the case is you were born digitally literate, you cannot just teach natives of the new technologies if you were born digitally literate, because that is already part of their well-being. So that's why there's no such thing as born digitally literate, because again, it takes time. You need to be exposed and experience the different things in the world of computers for you to be able to be called digitally literate. So, but the problem here is that digitally literate is popularly defined as the ability to use computers or use the internet, which, as we have seen earlier, forms only one part of the crucial and competencies required to be digitally literate. Again, for you to become digitally literate, there is a need for you to attain one of the skills, which is learning how to use the computers. Our expanded view of the term literate allows us to see that while the digital natives in our classrooms are most certainly familiar with digital systems, perhaps even more so than their instructors, this does not mean they automatically know how to read, write, process, and communicate information on these systems in ways that are both meaningful and ethical, especially when the information involved does not involve technology's most common use. Personal entertainment, that is to say, when the task at hand does not involve what the digital natives consider to be entertainment, the gaps in their literacy begin to show. So a good example of this is, for example, um, the teacher knows how to how to look for information when it comes to refereed journals, how to publish research online, but the students doesn't know to do it in how to do it, how to publish research online, to how to look for information online. So they are digitally literate only because they know how to use computers and knows how to manipulate software because of entertainment purposes. But when it comes to academics, they do not know how to utilize the use of computers in making research or in publishing research online. So sometimes what the teacher know, the students doesn't know, and vice versa. There are some part in the digital world that the students know that the teacher doesn't know. So that's it. So another problem concerning digital native is the misconception that everyone belonging to the generation is on more or less equal footing in regard to digital literacy. Although the drawing of such a conclusion is understandable, the near ubiquity of digital technology and the internet, it is none the least mistaken, as no one is truly born digital. Instead, the determining factor is access to education and experience. Children born to poorer families will naturally seem less digitally literate for lack of access to technology and an education in said technologies, while those born to privileged families will display more of the literacies discussed earlier. So, what are the challenges to digital literacy education? So it shares many of the same challenges to media literacy. For example, how should it be taught? How it can be measured and evaluated? Should it be taught for the protection of students and their consumption of information? Or should it be to develop their appreciation for digital media? So, Brown also noted that despite the global acknowledgement that digital literacy education is a need, there is as of yet no overarching model or framework for addressing all of the skills deemed necessary. Put simply, there's no single and comprehensive plan anywhere for teaching digital literacy the way it should be taught. Accordingly, he asked what assumptions, theories, and research evidence underpin specific frameworks, whose interests are being served when particular frameworks are being promoted. Beyond efforts to produce flashy and visually attractive models, how might we reimagine digital literacies to promote critical mindsets and active citizenry in order to reshape our societies for new ways of living, learning, and working for a better future for all. So teaching digital literacy is very important for the students not to become a victim of anything in the world of computers. So through this digital literacy, students are being reminded to always be careful of the different information they disseminate, of the different information that they are about to accept. There is no such thing as the best teaching strategy. How in presenting this kind of literacy, but of course, somehow teachers can integrate this in different courses just for the students to be reminded to always check the veracity of the information, to always evaluate how credible is the source and how reliable is the content of the information. Here, teach media and digital literacy integrally. So there is no way that the teacher cannot integrate digital literacy education to the different courses that they are handling, that they are teaching, because especially nowadays that all the time we are utilizing this kind of things. We are all in the world of computer, in the world of internet. So it is really possible to integrate digital literacy to the students, reminding them to always check the information that they are about to access, that they are going to accept. That is for their own safety. And if the teachers can do this, then we can have a better future, because at least students will not be trapped to the false information. So master your subject matter, think multidisciplinary, and explore motivations, not just messages. And the last, leverage skills that the students already have. So use that skills for, for the students to better improve what they already have, to better utilize what they already know.